G'day guys and welcome back to another episode of the Build Insight podcast. We're still live at CIRCA Studio at the Bowens Port Melbourne store. My name is Luke, I'll be your host today, joined by my co-host Dean. We had a previous episode last time we were here at CIRCA. We had a couple of the Bowens team members on. We had Andy Bowen and Luke McInerney, but we thought this time we're going to go all the way to the top. We've got John Bowen himself. So John, Managing Director of Bowens Hardware Store, 131 years going. John is the fourth generation. John, welcome to the Build Insight podcast.
Thank you for having me. Honoured.
Thanks, mate. We've I think we met briefly at the Bowens Expo 12 months ago coming up now, I believe, which is crazy. Time goes really quick. You guys officially just over a month ago opened store number 20.
Yep.
So
Heidelberg.
yeah, so in your time, mate, you've seen a lot of growth and a lot of change with Bowens itself. You talk us a bit about your journey and where Bowens is heading.
Well, I mean, I wasn't a great student at school. I went to university and I was more interested in sport and enjoying life. But then finished uni in early 1990s, and it was very hard to get a job anywhere. And for those that are old enough, they can remember the building industry was stuffed in Victoria. Victoria was effectively in a depression as an economy. And I think there was several years in a row where there was 20 to 25,000 Victorians leaving the state. So it meant, if there's 2.5 people to a house and 10,000 empty houses a year. So it meant that builders were very slow, if not at a standstill. And it meant those that are supplying them, being ourselves, were certainly doing it very tough. But it also meant the economy more generally was pretty difficult. So I ended up at Bowens because I couldn't get a job anywhere else.
How old were you then? That was post-uni, John?
21 or so, yeah.
Yeah.
What were you studying at uni, John? You don't have to.
I did. No, that's right. I did arts at Monash, and then I went into a postgrad in management, but I wasn't a great student.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if I learned too many lessons.
But not really related to hardware.
Oh, definitely not. And I had, while I was fourth generation, there was definitely no pressure to be in the business. Andy, who you've had on the podcast, is a lot more intelligent than me, and he was into banking and went away and all those sorts of things, whereas I didn't have many options. I didn't think at the time, tried to get a job. I had a footy coach who put me into had said, come and work for me in an insurance business. And in between him asking me to do that, Dad said, well, why don't you give it a go? So I gave it a go. And honestly, as a business, we were hopeless at the time. Tech was poor. Our facilities, I'll touch on that shortly, they were very ordinary. It might have been 5 or 6, 7 stores, not sure at the time. But again, the industry was in a bad way and we were equally bad at the same time. But I loved it.
So when you started, it was as small as 5 stores?
It might have been 6. We closed a couple during – we had a bad run.
Yeah.
Had to close some stores, had a manager that stole from us. We had some facilities that didn't work. Dad tried a few ideas. It was a difficult environment.
Yep. What year are we talking, John? How back?
So we're early 99. So interest rates were at 16 to 19. And then started in 1990.
I do remember being a kid back in those days, John, and come from a family where Dad run a concreting business and uncles, one of which I started my apprenticeship with, were builders. And, so I probably do recall some things from those eras, but at the same time, I do recall Dad having one of those big brick phones. That was the first bit of technology at the time. And, the uncles had the same thing. So, you've come into where you said study period, what are you doing with your life, to probably one of the hardest times in the building industry until probably 2020 or so, really.
Well, yes and no. I mean, my memory is wanting it. We weren't very good, so I'm not saying it was the same for everyone. But it was a time when, and I guess you're always built from your experiences, and certainly back then for us it was cost control and just hanging on, and fortunately things turned eventually. But really right through that decade we weren't very good, and it's given me some life lessons.
Yep.
You know, our leaders from the business right now, the key leaders in our operations are all, well, pretty much all came out of that era as well. So it's in our bones, those memories.
We'll get to that because that's one thing I love about our dealings with Bowens is I suppose the long-lasting relationships that you have, and the people there are really invested. You're not just walking into a hardware shop, but the style of what Bowens was like, to my understanding too, was more of a, you know, your timber and truss, and whereas now it's come in and we're sitting in CIRCA, which is an extension of Bowens, and pick everything and go away and build your house basically.
Well, look, the journey to that, it's taken a long time to get to the point where we can do those things because you got to pay your way. And Dad had done an amazing job in building a great culture, but there wasn't a system necessarily behind it. And we're still learning that system. We've still got a long way to go. We're practicing that at the moment and putting some things in place that can hopefully formalise and put a formula around what we try and do to make it better for builders. But right from 1894 through to the 90s and through to now, it's been the same customer for us, which has been professionals. So those people who use our materials to make a living. And whether those materials are recycled timber and steel way back in 1894 or they're brand new materials, and most of them you guys know, and I don't even know what we're selling. But it hasn't changed. Our customer, CIRCA, the customer is still, even though we might not see builders in CIRCA, which is our selection centre, the customer is still the builder, one that's paying the bills.
Can we just touch on CIRCA maybe quickly, John? Where did the vision of CIRCA come from? Was this something that you kind of had that you wanted to do yourself, or was this brought up by anyone else in the business, or how did this come about?
So I've recognised for the Bowens business, there's probably a fifth of our Bowens business is volume builders. So it's not a major part of it, but we still deal with volume builders and deal with them in a really good way. Our truss and frame business, Timber Truss, deals with them a lot more. There are reasons for that, why the difference one to the other. But I've noticed with our volume builders, just the system, you know, there's a lot of people who can be critical of volume builders. One thing they do well is, as you'll find when you're competing on price, it's not easy. They can really, their systems and the way they build the type of house, it's a little less expensive for the homeowner.
Yep.
But there is a system to it. And in Victoria, it might be 10, 15, 20 who have the selection centres. But when you watch the clients go into those spaces, and they're very, very, very good spaces, some of them, they select their bricks, their roof tiles, their kitchens, their bathrooms, their floors, everything. And it's a very systemised approach. But for the majority of our customers, they don't have that opportunity. So, oh man, a lot of my ideas take a very long time to happen. But back in, really right back in about 2000, I thought it'd be great to have something closer to the city. Port Melbourne was always in our mind. We didn't have a store in Port Melbourne until 2015. But the idea people will come in, very few will go out or go the other side of town. And we wanted to be a space that our customer could bring their clients, a place where you could, remembering that we're going to sell to you, you could line it up, whether they want one product, two, or a whole house lot in terms of the materials that we carry. And it's a service that, unlike most of those volume builders, our smaller customers don't have a selection centre. Well, we can offer one. Reece do a great job of it in plumbing.
Yep.
And we wanted to try and do the same with claddings, door hardware, doors, so forth.
For over 130 years, Bowens has been the builder's choice, providing a service that provides timber, hardware and innovative building products.
And now we're helping you further with this wonderful partnership.
We're proud to announce Bowens as our new premier sponsor, bringing you more of the insights that you love. Build insight together with Bowens.
Real people,
Real insights. Works extremely well. We've had clients in here, and it is of benefit knowing it's all under one roof too. I think don't expect you to remember all the products, John, because I think from my understanding, there's like 50,000 products or something like that you
Across
guys
Bowens?
across Bowens or something. So yeah, you'd be doing well if you remembered a tenth of those, mate. But I know, I guess the exciting part for us is as well, you've got a real team behind you that we're in a change in the building industry where we're hearing passive house, high performance, and building better. And I guess that's all new to the industry as well. Even 5 years ago, there was people there, but it was not growing the way it is now. So you guys are right behind that with ingenuity, with getting the right team in, bringing more products in, which is more knowledge needing to be learnt as well.
Well, look, I go back a while, and again, you learn through experience. We've got 60 external sales people on the road, but they're flat out taking orders for what they know, what you know. So forever pushing something new was very difficult. So a while ago, we had a guy called Steve Mannion who transitioned into a role which we called innovation at the time. It was very much the start of our journey. That was in 2010. And then Andrew Healy joined us 9 years ago, and he's built it from there. But if we can specialise in new products, it means that we are going to have more success, and it's that connection from supplier or manufacturer to builder is quite often missed because everyone's busy. So if we can get the right guys who really understand the product and girls, put them in front of the professionals and say, hey, there is a better way of doing it, then we will. And I reckon we have.
Yep.
We're not, again, the journey's incomplete, but I think we're doing a good job there because we're focused on it. And you mentioned Expo at the top of this episode. But we would have had 4,000 builders at Expo last year. And again, if we're going to have the same product year on year, why would you bother coming back?
Yep.
There's prizes and there's food and there's drinks and all those sorts of things. But again, it's an effort to be there. So for us to get people in front of us again, we've had the idea of innovation at the front of our title for Expo every year, and that's there for a reason. We want to make sure we're drawing innovation out of our suppliers, not just talking about it. We're challenging our suppliers, our manufacturers that we deal with, to constantly put better product in front of builders and make their job easier.
Yeah, 2 years is proving to be a very long time in building with how quickly things are changing. So, yeah, I know we're very excited for the next one because there's a lot of fantastic products that just keep coming and coming along, which is exciting.
Well, not every builder, from my understanding, is looking for new. So, you guys need to,
you got to put it in
dip your lid. Yeah, well, you've got to try things.
Yeah, definitely. Talk about it on a podcast. Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, definitely.
Can we just maybe check in on a bit of the history of Bowens, John? Obviously, 131 years strong. That is nothing to shy away from. Can we just go back maybe with some of the origin story of Bowens and how you've seen it, or how it's evolved and you've seen it over generations as well?
Look, we haven't, it's a bit boring. I've said to Dad a few times, I don't know why our great-grandfather didn't get into oil or computers. It would have been a lot more rewarding. Look, it has been timber all the way through. Hardware started in the 50s. We used to bring in a lot of Douglas fir from overseas in large flitches and resaw it over here. So there was, a small mill at different times, and I can remember that as a kid. We were at North Melbourne until 1966. That's our only location. Again, we'd done a lot of big projects through the Melbourne Olympics and a variety of quite significant projects around Melbourne. But again, it was mostly about builders, customers building houses. In 1966, we moved to the far-flung area of Mount Evelyn in Melbourne's east. And really from there, my grandfather died in 1971, a few months before I was born, that my father took over at the age of 27. He'd made a connection in America to a guy over there called Terry Mullen, who drew him into the States a couple of times. Dad saw these larger home centres being built, thought of that idea of bigger timber yards. So then he also started to expand. So we sold a bit of land at North Melbourne and opened Hastings, South Oakley at the time, now East Bentley, and then have just grown from there in terms of stores. Tried a lot of things, as I said, in the 1980s. A lot didn't work. Always connected again to builders, but then out of the 1990s, we'd learnt some pretty harsh lessons, had to close a store, and really we were on our bones of our arse. But I was lucky enough to take over from Dad because of my surname in 2005. And Dad has done an incredibly good job with both me and then Andy later on, just getting out of the way, supporting us wholeheartedly, being there all the time, but allowing us to make our own mistakes as well as giving us advice when it was asked for. And for a lot of the older generation who moved to the side, they either disappear or they stay too involved. And we've got the right balance with Dad, so that's been good.
Unfortunately, hear too much of that in building companies, that's for sure.
It definitely happens. And then in 2007, it was an interesting year. Dad had bought some land in Epping, and he said, we need to open a store. I said, you got to be joking. I'm not ready. I'm too young. I don't understand. We don't have the right people. He said, no, we're going to do it. I said, no, that's a silly idea. So we ended up doing it. Once we'd done that, it was a great success, the Epping store initially, but it was our first new build for a very long time. As I said, it had been a difficult period. I'd said to Dad at the time, our problem now is the business that's supporting our opportunities, it's literally crumbling. So all of our facilities, literally bar none, were crumbling, from North Melbourne to Mount Evelyn, Croydon, Roval, Bentley. I said, what we've got to do is go back and build our assets. We own most of those facilities. And we've done it over that period of time. Since 2007-8, we've rebuilt or built 13 stores. We've renovated and opened about another 8 or 9. And we've been able to pay for it through, effectively we churn all of our earnings back into building the asset base. And it's been a good thing. I think I learned from watching Bunnings and overseas, Home Depot and Lowe's, much better facilities were going to take the space from old timber and hardware stores. So when you guys were growing up and you went into a timber and hardware store, they were hot and dusty in summer, they were wet and muddy in winter, they were small, they didn't have a good range. So our journey in 15 years was always bigger facilities, much better ranges, and offer our builders, our customers, something so that they didn't have to journey all around. And again, Bunnings has got a lot to do with that. They've been able to capture the market. They've changed the vocabulary from going to a hardware store on the weekend to going to Bunnings. So all credit to them. But we reckon we compete where we need to in the products that our builders are looking for. And innovation's a big part of that. But we can't slow down.
Yeah.
Keep challenging you guys.
Yeah, my first experience going back 15 years ago when we started out with our business was the Taylor's Lake store, which is still there. And, that's obviously been a really, great location for you guys. But now you go a little bit further out and we walk into the Melton store, which is Luke went to the first time yesterday on the way through. And
hoping one day that it keeps heading west and finding that one in Adelaide.
But you've got the right man to poke there, mate. But one thing, John, I want to talk about is you've got a long list of long-serving employees, and I believe last weekend you had a celebratory night with an event celebrating long-lasting members, and I think here we've got a guy by the name of Jeff Harvey is the longest serving Bowens employee. Is it 60 years or something?
Yeah, he's 64. I told Dad we wasn't allowed to speak about Harvey. We give him a bit much airtime.
I can't remember if Andy spoke about him or not, but yeah. I mean, that's great stories. I mean, most businesses have staff go through, pretty quickly, and you've got 20 stores. There's a long list of people serving long periods.
We are so lucky. I mean, Dad built that culture, so, he's made that happen, and it's my job, Andy's job, but also the leaders of the business to sustain it. And I think more generally the whole team, because, we talk about it a lot. We work so that we can live. We want people to enjoy time at work, but we want you to enjoy getting out of work. And it needs to be self-sustaining, because I can't be at every location every day and make it happen. And we have managers, we have team members right through the business who seem to have taken it on and be proud. Our values are epic fun. So excellence, pride, integrity, care, and then having some fun. And we talk about it a lot, and hopefully we deliver it on a lot. And that helps it happen. I think we had another person flick over 50 years this year, got at least 8 between 40 and 50 years.
Wow.
It'd be 30 or so in the 30s. So
Yeah.
it's some great people who hang around in an era where people don't hang around. So we are just so fortunate that they're keen to make it work.
Yeah. Even if you just said there's probably over 30 employees that have served over 30 years and that was it, that's
impressive.
phenomenal. Yeah. It keeps going in the decades and not by one or two. It's multiple.
Well, I can tell you, Jeff Harvey is still adding value.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how good he is with not just the young ones. He's always teaching me something. He's not working 50 hours a week anymore. Can you believe it? But he still does an enormous job, and he's, we're proud of him, and I think he's proud of the legacy he's leaving.
That's pleasing to hear, especially considering where the conversation was a few minutes ago about older blokes still hanging around and getting in the way. So that's nice to hear.
Dino, so I rocked up to site last week, got scratched bench tops, paint all over the windows.
Let me guess, Lukey. No good?
No good. And now we're spending big bucks trying to fix it.
Mate, Goop Guys roll on a thick, peelable protective coating that saves your surfaces.
And your budget.
And your sanity, Lukey.
Seriously, check them out. goopguys.com.au. Protect your job from the start.
John, modernising and I guess moving into high performance, Bowens have definitely led some impressive innovations. You've obviously got Uber deliveries now. You've got the CIRCA showroom, over 55,000 products available in your stores and online now. Where has this passion come from and the need to keep progressing in front like that?
Well, I think it's just off the top. I think it's more a business sustainability issue. If we're not relevant to our customers, then what the hell are we doing? And so in our industry, it means different materials. It means bigger stores that can carry more products. Right from the start, we talk about with our branch managers and our teams, and they get a bit sick of me saying it, but be the best at the basics. So before we can go and talk about sustainable building methods and materials, we have to be great at the basics. So it means we need to be in stock of this product you expect us to have. We need to have a range that's wide enough. We don't need outdoor barbecue settings or garden or hard garden or carpet or paint. We don't need kitchens. But what we do need to have is building materials that you would expect us to carry and have them in volume. And when you require them on site, we need to get them there today. That's the drive that we're working towards. We've had a long meeting this morning talking exactly about that, what we can do next to make sure materials are in front of you immediately, not in a day, not in 2 days, not when we're ready, but that we have a yes philosophy. And if we can do that, then we get the opportunity to talk to you about products that are new, that are innovative. Andrew and his team have led that. I know you know Damo well. Al, all of their crew and innovation have done a great job of putting it in front of us.
Only last week, John, I can testify to that. We have a major project on at the moment. We had a day where we pushed everyone onto the roof. We've had bad weather. We had a pack of 90-35 there that they chewed through pretty quickly for roof battens. I think I rang up one of the guys at Melton at probably at 10:30, 11 in the morning. And at 2 o'clock that afternoon, there was a truckload of another pack of timber out there for us. And that's probably 45 minutes from the closest store. So, that there, and I made comment to Darren, my business partner, I just said, there's other companies around that you would have just waited 2-3 days or a week. So, that in itself is just, you can't put a cost on that for us because we probably would have got more rain and a slower project and push trades back. So, that's it working at its finest. And I was blown away because I was expecting the next day. And it was Brad rang me and said, no, I'll have it out there in a couple of hours. Boys rang me at 2 and said, it's here. Yeah.
Look, we're not curing cancer. And so we will talk about it a bit. The reality is builders you might have 120 suppliers or trades on any job that you're doing. We are literally, and we've got to keep reminding ourselves, we're not that important. So the piece we play, we've got to do really well, and we've got to get products out on site quickly. It's essential. And to do that, we've got to have the right systems in place to make sure they're in stock and ready to go.
Yeah, it's working great.
What are some of the challenges that you're facing either at the moment just with general stock, John, or implementing and wanting to bring in any new products? Any particular challenges you want to talk about at the moment?
No, I think we could probably get sidetracked if we did too much at the same time. So we've got to make sure, again, best to the basics. If we're going to introduce something, be good at it. I heard you talking about Bass Rock earlier and the things that went well, but what didn't go well. So we've got to Damo's got to work on what didn't go well. If he's going to sell that, not just to you, but to someone else. We've got to be really good at listening because it has to be executed well. But if it's about water or thermal or, I don't think we're big enough in acoustics. I don't know. Do you guys, I'll put a question to you guys. I mean, how often are you requested to find solutions for acoustic challenges?
Yeah, I find we've had it over the years with probably more double-story places. I mean, we've probably had maybe one client over the years who maybe a bit more of a musician and wanted to make sure that wasn't going to annoy the rest of his family. But it is there. But I guess we're probably unique where we build inner suburbs and then rural as well. So probably more for Darren on my end, like he's got maybe some tighter blocks and stuff, whereas country you don't really.
We do have one at the moment where it was completely separated from the part of the project where we're already doing an extension, and they sort of said the upstairs bedroom, the master bedroom, and one of the kids' bedrooms is right next door. And there's obviously no insulation in the dividing wall. It's just plasterboard that's blocking the noise between the two. And the daughter is at the age where she's making a fair bit of racket coming through the wall, whether it's music or whatever. And we're just trying to find a solution to be able to soundproof the wall, I suppose.
Yes, yeah. So, I keep talking about it, but it doesn't sound like it's a big market at the moment. But whether it's that or it's fire, whatever it is, Andrew and his team, they'll hopefully take those subjects and look for ways of solving them. So again, we're delivering solutions. We don't want to waste your time. A lot of things to do for builders. We have to remind ourselves about that so that we're in and out, but give you things that work.
And one thing I've been noticing, and even talks with Heels himself with, I suppose, spaces to build displays so that builders who are your clientele can come in and actually view new products. As you said before, John, there is still a large part of the industry that maybe just build the way they've always built and what they do, and until they maybe see the product and how it's done and put together as well. So I know Heels is a very passionate man about all things.
Well, he has. Look, it's probably not going to be a great solution for you and your crew out the north.
Yeah.
Nor for anyone out of Adelaide, but we're going to build a space at Hastings. So that's in the southeast, deep southeast, because we have a spare, probably I think it's about 1,800 square metres or 2,000 square metres, and we're going to do exactly that. We're going to put in, I don't know what it is at Damo, it's 50 or so products that hopefully will blow people's mind, and it'll be enough to drag our builder customers into that space and play with what we're doing.
Yep. So watch this space.
Watch this space. It's exciting, yeah.
Yeah,
very exciting.
I think it's fantastic. We need more of that. One thing that builders who are actively doing to get out there, even clients that want to build a certain way and learn more about how a house is going to perform, will go to open days, but there's not really anything around that has a display centre to performance membranes do the training and so forth, but to see everything all there in one form, it would be pretty exciting for the industry.
Well, you've got to be able to play with it and make a mistake and get some coaching. But also, a lot of the innovators, they don't have a lot of cash behind them either. I'm not saying it's the case for all of us. So if we can play a hybrid role where we're connecting those great minds with their product and then the people who are going to use them and feel safe using it, then why wouldn't it be a good idea?
Yeah, definitely. John, we've got 20 stores. I know this guy next to us is pushing pretty hard to see Bowens in South Australia. But is there any other updates coming that you can share with listeners with more expansion, stores or interstate?
Look, the great part about being a private business is that we're not driven by external shareholders demanding more growth again and again. We don't need to do things that don't fit within our current thinking.
Yep.
So we definitely want to grow because it's fun. Our team thrive on it. I think if we didn't do something, we've become so used to change now, it would be a backward step if we don't grow. but we're not driving to be interstate. We're not driving to be the biggest in the country. We just want to be great at what we do. I love hearing the story before. Of course, you're going to say nice things. We're in our space. But it's great hearing that we got product out to you quickly.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear. So if we're standing around a barbecue and someone says, oh, man, Bowens do the best job for whatever reason, that's what we're striving to be. But again, we need to grow to keep our team interested. And plus, it is fun. I mean, we've really enjoyed the last 15 years, and there have been some tough times through that. It's not perfect right now, but we'll grow. We'll add stores, definitely, and do other things at the same time.
We are absolutely thrilled to announce that CIRCA Studio are coming on board as a major sponsor and supporter of Build Insight. CIRCA Studio is Australia's leading interior design centre. If you're an architect, building designer, interior designer, builder, or just looking to build your dream home, you need to make a time and come in and check out the space here in Port Melbourne. This space holds every element that you'll possibly need to design your dream home.
I did say to your brother Andy that you've probably got store manager here if you want to open Adelaide.
Yeah. Adelaide's all right.
Yeah.
Bianco's, what else you got over there?
What? Are we allowed to share it on here?
You can say whatever you like.
Oh, we would basically probably Bianco, Bunnings, and K&B Mitre 10 would be the biggest ones over there, I suppose.
Bianco's part of Mitre 10 now over there.
I did hear that. Yep.
Okay. So look, yeah, there's options in most cities, but I reckon Victoria is very fortunate. The builders in Melbourne are lucky because particularly Geelong, but also around Melbourne, there's some very decent competitors to us who keep us on our toes, and it's meant that it's pushed us to do more. So our significant facilities, so Melton, Epping, Hastings, Croydon, Roval, Warragul, they are great stores now with big ranges of inventory so that we're obviously able to move quickly when builders require it. But we're doing that because we have to be kept on our toes. But again, I think it's to the benefit of people and building people in Melbourne.
Yeah, and from my experience too, John, because you are in here, there is mistakes, but you deal with the same like everybody should. Well, no one's perfect, no business is perfect, but the mistakes get cleaned up too. So, but I think that only happens because you've got genuine people there that are like striving to do the best at their job. And again, that would definitely reflect on the amount of long-serving people that are there. I think every business could look at that and take inspiration out of it. We've been around for 15 years and we don't have 15 carpenters have moved. The good ones have moved on to become builders.
Yeah.
But that's another good story feel about, you're helping people along the way, which is exciting for us.
The great part about this industry, as opposed to oil and computers, like I said earlier, is that you create some incredibly good relationships. So we are often getting helped out of trouble by our builders who can see that we've put some runs on the board, but it goes both ways. We've got builders who we are delivering frames to within 3 or 4 hours because they've forgotten to order them, or bits and pieces at the same time. So it's a bit of give and take if we do a good job with relationships, which I think we are pretty good.
Definitely.
Having a great team around you, John, obviously takes a lot of weight off of your shoulders. But I suppose with your day-to-day and the pressures that you might be under as well, what's John Bowen to do? What does John Bowen do to keep himself motivated?
Well, first of all, I love the business. I love what we do. So I've been very fortunate in that regard. But outside of that, my wife keeps me on the straight and narrow. She doesn't want to hear about work at all after hours.
Does she know you're here today?
No, she got no idea. I've got 4 boys, they're aged between 17 and 24, so they again keep me on my toes. They're not that interested in anything that's an issue to me. And I enjoy getting away and not worrying about that. A couple of them are playing footy tomorrow, so I'll go and watch that. I love watching them play sport. We've just built a new house at a farm we've had for a few years, so we've loved going up there and getting away and getting out of busy Melbourne, away from the roads. So, look, I'm very fortunate with life, keeping on my toes and having some great friends and drinking nice wine. So,
yeah.
Yep. A quick conversation we had with your brother Andy a while ago. He sounds like he's pretty keen on golf. You mentioned your sons are into footy. Is footy a pretty passionate thing for you?
Well, definitely amateur footy.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not. I mean, the AFL's fine, but and I love sport, full stop. But I enjoy it a lot more when I'm at my local footy club, watching my sons, or if they're not playing, just watching my old club and catching up with friends.
Yep. You get out for a hit of golf with your brother?
Well, one of us has to stay at work.
No, it was all right. John, I guess, this is probably something where you're not necessarily talking to yourself, and we've heard your early story, but what would be some things that you could tell your younger self or a younger person that's stepping into a big role? Like you said, your dad probably put you in the fire with a new store and so forth, and you learnt pressure and to step up, but what would be some advice you could pass on?
I think you got to try things. If I'm talking to the sons of my friends, for instance, my son's friends, I reckon they got to give things a go. In fact, I know my son this morning resigned from his job, and he's going to try and do something very different, but I like what he's thinking. I know he'll work hard. And most of all, I reckon, and for our crew across Bowens, is they might have their sights on the next job or the one after that, or my job, I hope. But my advice to them would always be just be great at what you're doing at the moment. You will get noticed and we'll push you along because there's lots of opportunities internally. But that's same again for my kids' friends, girls and boys. Just be great at what they're already doing and give things a go. Definitely.
Be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, that'd be a better way to say it.
And John, not that you at all give the impression across that there's any expectations for anyone to step into the business from the next generation, but is there anyone showing interest to follow their dad and uncle's footsteps for fifth generation?
Look, maybe. I mean, because the business has changed so much, we've grown a lot. It gives us a few options. Again, I came in, I couldn't get a gig anywhere else. Unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, was really high back in that period of time. So that the opportunities weren't there. But I've said to my boys pretty simply, I'd heard it through other family businesses and it just resonated for me that they can work during school holidays, bit of uni, those sorts of things, but once that's done, you've got to go out, get another job anywhere. I don't care what they do. If they're a school teacher, they're running a service station, they're inside a restaurant. Just do it really well, get better. And then in 6 years, we've sort of taken 6 years as about the number. Mm-hmm. We're all in. If you want to come into the business, please do it. But between now and then, learn some other disciplines outside of our company. And I think my eldest son's the first to really step down this road, and I think he's a great example of doing it well, and who knows what the future holds for him and for the rest of them.
I think that's a fantastic story. Yeah. I've got my oldest who's turning 12. She's already telling some of our carpenters that she's going to be taking over the Backman builders when she finishes school. And I just said to her, honey, it doesn't exactly work that way. No. But, I think that's a fantastic story. So we'll watch that space too, I guess, John.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
All right, we won't hold you all day, John, because it sounds like you got some nice fine wine to go and get to drink this afternoon, possibly, before it gets into the weekend. But we appreciate your time coming in. But we've just got one last little section we're going to fire off to you. We'll put you in the hot seat. Some rapid fire questions we want to get to before you run away.
Right.
We do ask that you have rapid answers, please. Everyone seems to get hung up on these. So just as quick as you can. Dan, you want to kick off with the first one?
Sure, mate. Yeah. What's the most valuable lesson you've learned in 131 years of family business? And we know you haven't been in the business for 131 years, John, but just from the past generations.
Be a good person.
Favourite innovation at Bowens in the past 5 years?
It hasn't been successful. My favourite was that our timber truss crew came up with a timber elevator lift frame structure.
Hasn't come out.
It has. We've used it a few times, and it's a ripper. It's a lot quicker than precast, and it works really well. We just haven't sold enough of them.
Oh, Sounds exciting, though. All right, next one. One piece of tech you think will shake up the building industry next?
It's too easy to say AI. It's how we use it. And that was the meeting I was in this morning. So I would like to be able to for you guys at night to pick a time when you want a job on site tomorrow without talking to any of our staff.
Yep.
Last one. How do you see Bowens evolving for the 5th generation and beyond?
We're going to keep changing. So CIRCA, timber truss, different materials that we're trying to sell. I'd suggest there'll be other businesses that make sense to add on, and we will definitely grow.
Amazing. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, John, and taking time out of the end of your week, mate. It's greatly appreciated. And the support the Bowens family have showed Luke, myself, and Build Insight is truly grateful, mate. So we're excited what's ahead, and to be a small part of it as well.
Well, thanks for having me. And remember too, we're learning from you guys all the time. Our builders are connecting with our innovation team particularly and giving us some really good direction where we go next.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks again for coming in, John. Guys, if you want to find out about Bowens, head over to bowens.com.au. There's an awesome online store there that, even though I'm based in another state, I've had a good scroll through there. It's quite impressive, as well as Instagram, Bowens on there as well. Look up CIRCA Studio. It is CIRCA Curated on Instagram is the way you'll find that. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want to find out more about Build Insight, head over to our website at buildinsite.com.au. Over on the website, you'll find previous podcast episodes as well as links to our YouTube channel and Instagram. Hope you've enjoyed the episode, and catch you on the next one.
We just need to say a massive thank you to our sponsors and supporters. Without them, Build Insight wouldn't be possible. So to Bowens, CIRCA Studio, Wonderbuild, Goop Guys, Callery Building, and Backman Builders, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you again next week.
Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insight team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insight podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.